and updates on the squirrels, and of course, hello, Ron. But I'm going to get back to my cup of coffee. That's my priority. But good morning.
Well, good morning, Mike. It's really strong.
Thanks for the report. Same for you. Everybody's sounding great. We'll see how Mother Nature influences propagation.
Okay, Mike. I'll see you in a bit. Good morning there, Bob and Ben and the squirrels listening in U6F.
6QK on frequency. See you on the net.
It sounded good. K6UK, was that right?
Kilo Echo 6, Quebec Kilo, correct.
Okay, 6QK. Okay. Very good. Yeah, it sounded good. I'm in near Groveland on the road to Yosemite for QTH here. VXY, back to the 100 watts of power. Yeah, that old SB200. I can run more, but I run 80 watts a lot, but I just decided 100. I think I can run AM on this 200. I can run this thing up to about 140, 150 watts. But why wear out the tubes? They get tired.
Well, let's do that. We're listening. And this is WA7YBS. And I'll be your net control today on the Vintage Military Radio Net, Nevada version. And we have snow coming down. The good part about it is it's not sticking. So we're right at 33 degrees and have been apparently all night because it snowed all night. And it isn't sticking. There isn't really any snow on the ground to speak of. But because of that, wet ground and stuff like that, antennas are quite a bit different in their loading characteristics than they normally are. And Chuck, K0DWC, has a technical problem with his antenna. Might be due to the storm, might be due to something. Anyway, he's finding it impossible to get anything to load up into it, so I will be net control today. And so far, I've heard in the number ones, this is the order I've heard the stations over the past 10 minutes or so. Number one was Bob, W6AQU. Good morning, Bob. Number two is Vern, K6VXY. Again, good morning to Vern. And for a real short one, in the number 3 spot, I heard Mike, W7MS, all tuned up. And in the number 4 spot's Ron, NU6F. Good morning, Ron. And in the number 5 spot is Rich, KE6QK. Good morning, Rich. So if you want to check in here and get in the pre-net warm-up lineup, number 6 is open. You can check in now.
W6MQI.
W6SSP. Okay, I got Dave at W6MQI. Good morning, Dave. And W6SSP, that's Steve. but before you two guys, there was a real weak station that tried to check in, so let's see if we can get him. He would actually be number 6. So let me try it again, and the station that was the first one to respond, go ahead again. You give me the phonetics and the call repeated a few times. So go ahead. It's WA7 YBS.
Okay, Henry, thanks. Yeah, it's Kilowatt Delta, Tango, Kilo, X-ray, 86TK. Over.
Well, okay. Andy, 86TK. Actually, I don't know why I didn't recognize the call, but that first transmission was way down. So anyway, we got you in the number 6 spot, KD6TKX, and good morning to Andy. In the number 7 spot is Dave, W6MQI. Good morning to Dave. In the number 8 spot, Steve, W6SSP. Got number 9 open if you want to check in to the net. Number 9 is available. Check in now. Okay. Let me check the meter readings. Everything looks just absolutely fabulous. So, we're on the 32V3, running 110 watts of carrier power. Receiver is the Raycal RA17L, British Royal Army version. And antenna is the collinear array, which because of the weather is tuning slightly different, but nothing to get overly excited about. And so, as mentioned earlier, Chuck was slated to be net control today, K0DWC, and he is having weather-related antenna issues and is unable to get his transmitters, either the TCS or the ART13, to really load up with any with at all. And so he suspects that he might have a broken feed line up at the feed point, one leg, and so it kind of sounds like it's acting like that. So I will be your net control today, and everybody knows the drill on the Vintage Military Radio Net. We assign numbers as you check in, and it eases with the handoff. Everybody kind of knows the drill, so let's go ahead and get started. Let me run down the list here real quick again. In the number 1 spot, Bob, W6AQU. Number 2 is Vern, K6VXY. Number 3 is Mike, W7MS. Number 4 is Ron, NU6F. Number 5 is Rich, KE6QK. Number 6 is Andy, KD6TKX. Number 7 is Dave, W6MQI. Number 8 is Steve, W6SSP. So let's shoot it up there to Bob, W6AQU. Go ahead, Bob.
Okay. How about if I put some power on? W6 Queen Uncle. Good morning to all. Well, I'll tell you, Henry, you're doing a good job over here this morning. Stronger than normal. Maybe it's a transmitter. Anyhow, morning again to Vern. And there's Reno. Mike, MS, very good. Ron, loud and clear. And QK. Well, at first we're having a hard time hearing you. TKX, Andy, haven't heard you in a while. Very good morning to you down there. And Livermore checking in there. Dave, good morning. And Steve, going to get a report from you on the 398s and the wheelbarrows today, I'll bet you. Well, no snow here, however. We did run into snow a couple days ago, crossing the Siskiyou Mountains to go to Medford, Oregon. So it's out there. This morning we're using a Kenwood 8300, driving a single 3500Z at about 200 watts into a half rate off the tower. So that's a rundown. Up there to Pine Mountain Lake or Groveland. The X-Wyvern, taking away W6 Able, Queen Uncle. Gave it a little pause in case we had a break-in. And as I said earlier, I'm keeping my eye out. I guess I'm keeping my ear out for any more thunder. Boy, some of that was booming last night close, so I wasn't going to run the linear, but it seems okay. So I'm running 100 watts here with the SB200. And I guess from what Bob said earlier, he's got the 220. He's probably running more power. I think he said 4CX something, or I didn't know they used those in that. Maybe they did in the later models. But I love this Heath Kit Green. I kind of grew up with it, and it's really special. And between it and my driver is the world-famous Arc 5, which I picked up from the swap meet. I was asked about that, I think by Mike, and I'm not sure. I just got this week my confirmation on my knee surgery. It's the right knee. It's a replacement, you know, with the artificial knee. And that'll be on the first Monday there in May 6th, and which is about 4 weeks ahead of the swap thing there in Reno. That was not Denton or wherever. It was a town that started with a W. I just don't know. I liked it last year a lot. It was fun. And I'm not sure how I'm going to be 4 weeks after the surgery. It'd be nice to be able to make the trip. I just can't say for sure. And on the squirrels here, I don't think you all heard it, but about a week ago, a squirrel was out there, and I was out there just on the patio because it was warm enough to sit outside. And this squirrel was jumped over the banner of aluminum I've got around the tree. He jumped 4 feet, I'm sure, going uphill. Just kind of showing off, and I was yelling at him, and he came down the tree from about 12 feet up the tree and was looking at me, and I told him to get out of there, and he ran, jumped over that thing again like it wasn't there, so I have to figure out something for that. But I do have wire, all wire now. I got 10 gauge wire on one leg. I'll be doing the other leg after this rain decides to stop. And then I got the one that anchors it from the back of the yard. I'm going to use that copper plated steel. I was told it's copper coated steel. I got from Lowe's. Really strong stuff. I'm going to use that over the back leg, and I shouldn't say it, but the squirrels have never bothered that section. I just don't want them to, because that gets the apex up. It's up about 30 feet now. I can actually see my antenna from the front yard. And that's down the hill. The whole lot slopes. And so I'm running the 200 with a ICOM driver. It's set for about, let's see, is it 35 divided by 4? About 8 watts, 8 to 10 amps driving the 200. And the antenna is a dipole, and with the third leg, it's not a leg, it's a rope leg that pulls on the antenna from another angle. And the change that's taken place here is that the one leg that on the antenna, because it's not up the big tree anymore, has moved more. I think it's going to favor more the group, Carson City and south, than further north. But Bob was coming in fine, so maybe it's kind of about 100 and, let's see, 180, I'd say about 150 degree type angle on the dipole instead of the ideal 180, but seems to be working pretty good. I woke up early today, that's why I'm here. I even put a load of dishes in the dishwasher. My wife's going to love that, helping out. Actually, she's got a back injury, and I'm not sure about her status for making a trip. We went up to Paradise a couple of weeks ago, and that was rough on both of us. That was about 220 miles. It's not as easy to travel as it was when I was younger. Anyhow, that's enough. Hello to the new guys. new to me, KE6QK Rich, and I think I've worked KD6 KTX Andy before. Be interested in your QTH. I'm near Groveland in a place called Pine Mountain Lake. We're about 4 miles from downtown Groveland, if you can call it that. So you think your eyes, you'll miss it as you're driving. Okay, over to Mr. Mike there in Reno with the booming signal, W7MS and the group. And good morning to all. This K6 VXY.
Henry, you want to pick up Bill? Yeah, he's trying to check in.
Will do. Okay, Bill, N6BCT, you are copied. You are in the number 9 spot. W6SSP, Steve will be turning it over to you. So you're all logged in, Bill, N9BCT. So this is WA7YBS and turning it over to Mike, W7MS. Go ahead.
Well, thank you, Henry. WA7YBS with K6VXY and the group here, W7MS, Mike in Reno. Good morning, Doe. Good propagation at this point. Bob is moving in with that 3500Z, is percolating quite well with the 7300. Vern, successful fast recovery on your knee replacement. Ron's booming in as always since he's down the street. Good morning to Rich. Andy's doing quite well, especially on the second transmission. And Dave is got his liver more heavy there on the S-ometer, and I'll save for Steve. So we'll keep this one relatively short, but this morning running the RCA BTA 250M, listening on the National HRO 600. Microphone is the RCA 74B ribbon microphone, and a few other accoutrements like the Genrad mod monitor, and a little bit of equalization here for the ribbon microphone, courtesy of the Chinese manufactured Behringer speech processor. So about an inch or two of snow here overnight. Everything that accumulated yesterday and yesterday evening pretty much had melted off, but quite a bit of precipitation, about an inch of water in the rain gauge from yesterday's storm, and of course this morning's activity has not yet melted. So that's the run up here, and let's see if there's any discrepancy in my weather report. NU6F W7MS.
Okay, good deal, Mike. And yes, I ditto your excellent weather report. It's, yeah, we had more snow earlier in the week, then she disappeared, and then a little came back, and then it's just wet, sloppy stuff. So, yeah, I think there's an inch or two here and there. But good deal, because I'm going to be driving up to Cold Springs in a bit, so the freeways should be clear. Good copy on all. Boy, when I first turned the radio on, though, signals were just crazy QSB all over the place, from Q0 to Q5 plus, very rapid back and forth. Even Bob, AQU, and Vern were just all over, and now things are smoothed out now. We're back to normal signal levels. And good to hear Andy in here this morning. Andy, you missed it last week. I was on the MAB, but I'm back on the TDE now. And yeah, MAB number 1 was working just fine. So it took cascaded amps to get 150 watts. But yeah, working on number 2 right now. And the radio, yeah, this morning is the Farnsworth Television TDE3 that used to be sitting in Andy's shack for several years, and now it's been expatriated to Nevada and receiving on the RCA 1939 contract, RAL, using the 170-foot long wire, and that's it. Okay, with that, I'll pass it down to Rich on the DX100, KE6QK, NU6F.
making success in the group, KE6QK. Thank you. Conditions are excellent here. Henry, you're plus 20. Bob, you're over 9, maybe 5 or 10 over. Vern, you're over 9. Good luck on your knee surgery. My ex-wife had it. Just follow his instructions after the surgery. You'll be fine. Mentally, you sound like KKOH. About the same signal strength as KKOH, you know. And around here, the same signal strength, 20 over. You have to pardon me. I am not feeling well. I'll explain. There was none last weekend. My wife was ill Sunday morning, and I took care of her for a 3 days, and I got the same thing. And now I'm getting over the virus now, too. I can't talk well, so I don't want to keep it very long. The X100B, 1961 Shure Green Bullet microphone, receiving on a Collins 75S1 antenna, end-fed long wire, half wave, about 20 feet high. And it's snowing here in Fallon, coming down real nice. Exactly same report from Henry, same stuff, still coming down. I put out the back over the rainy day, guys, so I'm not going to keep it. It's good to be back, though. Next in line is Andy. Andy, you were down a little bit, but we'll see how you are now. You were totally readable on the second transmission. KD6TKX. This is KE6QK in Fallon. Pick it up, son.
Okay, Rick, thank you. KE6QK in the military net. This is Kilowatt Delta 6, Tango Kilo X-ray. Name is Andy. I'm located at Curry Mountain, about 80 miles southwest of Fresno. Good morning to everybody. Good signals here. Lots of QSB. Some stronger than others, but everyone puts the top equal. Running the DC669C Delta 669D this morning. With about 40 watts of carrier output. And for rock stock, including the carbon mic. So low power and low fidelity, but a lot of fun. This set's been off the air for a while. Finally was able to make repairs to it. So it's looking good now. And happy to be here this morning with you guys. And the weather outside is what it's like outside. Dave, over to you. W6MQI and the military radio. Rick, this is KD6TKX.
All right, KD6TKX, W6MQI. Left a pause there. Somebody was tuning up and making noises. Well, good morning to everybody. This is Dave in Livermore. And all stations are sounding pretty good this morning. Rich, you're a little on the light side. And Bill from Half Moon Bay is a little on the light side as well. But all our stations sound pretty good. And we're on the ART-13 this morning, listening on the R390. No snow here. Same thing. The weather is what it is. Overcast. Supposed to warm up tomorrow, but it's been one of those like spring days. Not real cold out, but cold enough to wear a jacket, but not warm enough to wear a jacket. It's just weird. Kind of threatened all day yesterday to rain, but never did. Worked on my shed yesterday. Boy, I'm sore this morning. I put up all the siding and put the roof sheeting on. And so my lats on the side of my chest are sore from lifting plywood. Oh man. I'm not young anymore. And I got a quick after-action report for the Clatternet. I got up before the chickens yesterday. Nick K4NYW in North Carolina. Listens on the either KPH or KFS SCR to try and pick up anybody in the West Coast. But funny thing was, I wasn't really hearing myself for a while on the SDRs, but I was hearing myself on the SDR in Washington, D.C. So I went ahead and tried it direct, and he heard me. I didn't get 100% print, but he was able to hear me direct, which was pretty cool. I was running around 1,000 watts to do it, but I was able to pull it off. But I seem to be the lone survivor on the entire West Coast doing this. I'm hoping to maybe get some other people, but try and get maybe a later start for the West Coast. Nick starts listening for check-ins at 12:30 Zulu time, which is 5:30 local time here. So got to get it pretty damn early to make this work. What else? I think that's it for the first go-around. And Randy, your BC669 sounds good. I don't know why you were weak the first time. I could barely hear you, but you're sounding good now. And all other stations sound pretty good as well. But who's next here? Steve, W6SSP, W6MQI.
Okay, Dave. Well, thank you very much for the CloudNet report. That's pretty cool that you were heard all the way across the country. 1,000 watts helps. Quite a bit, I would imagine. And anyway, this is Steve, just north of Santa Rosa. Running the usual Collins 32V1 with a blazing 85 watts out into a dipole about 30 feet up. And the receiver is the 75A1. Microphone is the D104. And let's see if you follow Bob. Yeah, I finished the 3R398 projects quite a while ago. Two of them are in the station right to my left. And being used occasionally. And the third one is sadly put in storage. Hate to do that, but space limitations, and that's just the way it is. Mike, really cool. ETA 250M. I know what that is. I looked for one of those for many years, along with the Collins 20V. Never found any that were within driving distance. So really cool to hear one of those on the air. That is a classic broadcast transmitter for sure. And Andy, your BC669 sounds very good up here with 20 amps. Good audio quality, good carrier, and everything else, despite the very high noise. Propagation is better than the noise. I don't know how long that will be that way, but that's the way it is right now. And also, Andy, I wanted to comment on I saw your note for the 2 free Model 28 teletype sets. I hope somebody picks those up. I've got a couple myself. Really like them. I prefer the Model 15s, but 28s are really nice, especially for somebody that is just getting started with teletype. So that was just fun to get home. Anyway, over to Bill in beautiful Half Moon Bay, N6BC10, W6SSP.
Okay, Bill. Hey, this is BCT WA7YBS. And let's see if there's anybody else that wants to get in here on the first go-around. And let me do a little tweaking and peeking while I talk here. And things are looking up. It's looking a little closer to normal. There we go. On you know, where all of the adjustments should be. Okay, that looks fine. And so let's see if there's anybody else out there. Number 10 is open if you want to check into the Vintage Military Radio Net. Be number 10. Well, go ahead now.
W7MK8.
Well, there's Robert. W7MKA. Go ahead and make the transmission there, Robert. Turn it back to me. WA7YBS. You'll be number 10. So go ahead. W7MKA. Robert, go ahead and make a transmission there and turn it back to me, WA7YBS. Go ahead. Mike, W7MS, you want to try a relay? Go ahead.
Okay, Henry, no problem. Robert, are you there? W7MKA, W7MS, go ahead.
Yeah, it just, receiver just cut out. Just for a second, I thought the receiver was way down, so I had to maybe get something else patched in here. But, yeah, we do copy you on Mike. Really strong signal in here from Reno. So we're on the BC610 this morning. I finally got this whole thing together with the JD70 that we picked up at Mike and Key in Seattle. And the BC342 receiver and the 614 speed chip. So hopefully it's working okay. Some trouble with the speed chip, which turned out to be a rebuilder error on my part. The old trick of wiring in your bias electrolytic backwards. Hold out on those. Once we finally got that track down, then we're back in business. Back to you, W7MS to take it, W7MK8.
Okay, well, thanks, Robert. Back to you, Henry, W7MS.
Okay, thanks, Mike. And WA7YBS, and good morning there to Robert. Yeah, you got a good signal here in Dayton. You're probably about an S8 or so, Q5, and that's the important part. And with that, let's see if there's anybody else. Number 11 is open. Vintage Military Radio Net, first go-around. Going to be number 11. Get here in on the tail end of round 1. Check in now. Okay. Nothing heard. So let's see. Bob is doing good with the 3500Z being driven by a Kenwood, I think you said. And Vern is he's into the wonderful world of copper weld. Yes, I have 200 and something feet of copper weld I got from an old friend there, W7IND, back when Bob used to have, that's Bob Kirk, W7IND, when he used to have a lot of that stuff. I don't know where the heck he got it. But anyway, I still have the 200-foot roll of it. Hard to work with that stuff, really hard. And Mike, incredible sounding signal with the BTA 250, and always a good looker too. It's good when they sound good, besides looking good. Ron is putting in a strong signal with the TDE, and Rich, you're doing probably about an S9 or so here on the DX100. Sounds fine. DX100B. Andy, BC669's doing a good job. Probably about S9 or so here. And Dave is pounding in here with the ART13. Good strong signal. And Steve's about an S9 with the Collins pair there. Bill, having a little trouble with the internet, I guess, and that affects his use of the SDR receiver. So I guess you got that straightened out. And Robert, the BC610 sounds good here. You're about an S8 or S9 or so. Q5, that's the important part. So let's see. What's reports here on the various things going on. I think I'm completely wrapped up. I think I'm totally done with the NC-173, NC-183, NC-183D project. That's fully documented on the website, and if you're a real glutton for reading a lot of protracted descriptions and stuff like that, well, you can go to the website and get the latest and greatest. I took the NC-183D apart, I don't know, 3 or 4 different times. It required 2 part sets to get the thing really, being a real nice example of the 183D. So anyway, we're done with that. And the N7, or not N7, W7 NOM transmitter is, it's still an analysis portion of what to do. The power supplies they look great. The modulator looks great. The RF deck, I don't know what happened to that, but something did. And then the antenna coupler is missing everything. So I think W7NOM, I really think what happened is that he changed his mind as he was building this, because what he drew on the schematics versus what he built and left out, it's like the schematics are the starting point, and the transmitter, what you see in front of you, is the end result. So anyway, we're still deciding what to do on that. It's kind of a pathetic, anemic. It's kind of an anemic output. It's a pair of 6146s modulated by a pair of 807s. So at the best it's going to do maybe 100 watts or so. And a 4-foot tall, 250-pound transmitter ought to do a little more than 100 watts. But anyway, we'll keep everybody informed as to what's going on with that transmitter. So at any rate, let's see. One more try. Number 11 is open. If you want to check into the Vintage Military Radio Net, number 11 is open. Go ahead now. Okay, round 2. Let's go up to Bob, W6AQU. Go ahead, this is WA7 YBS.
Very good, thanks, Henry. WA7 YBS. Sunday morning Vintage Military Net. W6A Bull Queen Uncle. Good morning to Robert. You're sounding good on that 610. Okay, comments. MQI. Did I hear somebody right? You have a surplus of the Model 28 S and R's. There's a fella in Oregon looking for one. Well, you might clarify that. Well, that platter net at one time interested me, but that's what, upside down, single sideband using AFSK, I think, something like that. Oh, I've never played with that, except on 2 meters. We ran AFSK one time. Long time ago, I think. All right. That was the only comment I had there, was a clarification on that, Dave. And I'll keep it going. I'm wondering if Chuck is listening there. He ought to be able to jury-rig something over there. Yeah, maybe it's too cold to go out in the snow. All right, Vern, down to you. We're up to you. VXY, W68 Queen Uncle.
Okay, Bob. Thank you. Excuse me. W68QU, Bob, in northern California, 8 miles from the border. K6VXY, down in Groveland, about, 50 miles from the entrance of Yosemite. You know, I went to Yosemite a lot when I was younger, but we've been here, let's see, how long? 5 years. I think it's on May 1st, which is tomorrow. And that's in this house. We've been here almost 6. Well, no, not almost 6. We came here in November, so, 5.5 years ago, for a reason that I'm not going into, but we got a rental, and that worked out really good. Ran into our landlord on, Friday night? Yeah, it was down at the church. And anyhow, going back to the weather and all that stuff here, it's just been raining. We got about 2 inches of rain now in the last few storms, so that's quite a bit for us. And I haven't checked the yearly total, but it's doing pretty good. And the signals today are good, and hello to Andy there, and to Rich in Fallon, Nevada. Yeah, we went there one time on a visit to a friend there in Fallon. I think he's moved on to Seattle since then. But anyhow, the stuff here is working great. You know, it's interesting, the fan on this SB200 comes on if I have the cover down on the 200. So I take the cover and just flip it up, or back I should say, it because it's wide open. That cools off the 200 and the fan stops. So I try to keep it open. And I think Henry, the wire, I was told it's copper coated steel. I don't know what it is, but it's what they sell at Lowe's. About the same price as the 10 gauge copper wire. You know, it's electrical type wire. And but I could solder to it, but it was a little harder to do it. I had to get it a little hotter, but it did solder because I was testing it, and I was thinking for future use to try that as a leg on the antenna. But I'm going to get another 60-foot piece for the other half of the antenna in the next week or so, and string that up to the other side of the dipole. And that, of course, being copper solder is really good. And the main use for that, the steel type wire, is to a third leg on the antenna. It'll be a distance away. I'm going to have, you could probably go at least 60 feet to the third tree from the antenna apex itself, the center, you know. And I'm just going to use that to go over the tree and around the tree, under the tree. It only goes down about 20 feet. I had some help from those same people that climb trees. So it loops back, so I'm just going to have about 60 to 70 feet of that wire stuff going through the tree and around the tree and away from the squirrels. Oh, I can see now that I'm transmitting a minute or so, you might hear the noise in the background. The fan came on. To say, oh yeah, I'm getting warm here. So I'll send it on to Mike, W7MS, and good morning to all. I'll stick around for this round. I'm not sure about the third round because I got to get going this morning. This K6 VXY Burn in
beautiful Pine Mountain Lake near Groveland, California.
Well, thank you, Vern. K6VXY in the Sunday morning military net, Nevada style W7MS. Well, good reception from all. A little bit of QSB on you, Vern, but so as expected, the sun is rising, even though here at this location it's rather subdued with the cloud cover, but great on the antenna projects. And of course, forgot to give a shout out and good morning to Chuck and Carla. I'm sure Chuck is listening. He's just not in the transmit mode, so good morning to him. And of course, thanks for Henry for picking it up on short notice. When I first heard you, Henry, I was thinking, well, it's supposed to be Chuck's day. I wonder what's going on, but you explained the situation. And also Robert on the BC610, etc. 342, the 614 speed champ, doing quite well into Reno, so congratulations on that. And whatever jiggle fix you did on the receive side there so you can hear us, but doing well, good signal, and nice to hear you from the state of Oregon. And rather than the state of confusion here, which I'm going to try to avoid. And Rich, speedy recovery, continued speedy recovery. Andy's doing quite well on the 669. Good morning, Andy. And I won't say it, the standard line. I'll save that for OPE, but he's not here this morning. But great to hear you. Find Dave on the R13 and also the ClatterNet. Yeah, I followed the email string hitting my flat screen concerning the ClatterNet. So congratulations, and you're having a lot of fun, and that's the idea of a hobby, and especially one such as this. It's dependent on the gods of propagation, technical issues, and technical challenges. So great on that. Steve, doing well on the usual rigs, but you do have the two of the R390s within visual sighting, so good on that. And Bill's having some issues with his main receiver, which is an SDR remote, but he's actually doing quite well and 100% intelligibility this morning. And let me see. This RCA, I've had it since 2009. Just a brief description. The rescue is interesting. That's what I'll mention here for maybe 60 seconds. But it was just down the road, about a couple of miles, at one of our local hometown amateur radio heroes that did quite well in the mountaintop and site ownership business. Well, it turned out that he owned the location for the several AM broadcasters. It's maybe 10 minutes away from this house, adjoining the the Forest Service boundary, a little bit west of North Virginia Street. And so we got a lead on this. So I headed over with the famous N7 RCA Brad Hollander to help me tote this stuff. So I ended up with two these transmitters. One which had been partially disassembled and pushed out the back door, which had served as a great nesting cubicle for the ravens. Needless to say, it was relatively disgusting. But the two side notes were 1550 Spanish radio, Spanish language. They didn't own the station; it was leased. The station itself was in probate at the time, so we don't know about the legalese on the acquisition, but. It was interesting. When the play transformer from the parted out RCA was supporting one leg of a office desk. That was interesting. And the baseband cable coming from the phone company from the punchdown block was laying across the floor. So the station engineer, quotation marks, warned us not to trip over the studio feed, since that would lead to dead air issues with the Spanish language broadcast station. So a rather interesting low budget and kind of indicates the state of AM broadcasting these days. And I think they were using a second-hand Nautel solid-state device for a transmitter by then. So essentially, when something crapped out, they went shopping for a used piece of gear and got the station back on the air. So that's the setup here. And over to Ron, NU6F, W7MS.
Okay, well, good deal, Mike. On the rundown for the the resurrected AM transmitter. I missed the model number on that transmitter. Every time you gave it, I got the word phase distortion we get from our local short haul path. Anyhow, well, good deal. Yeah, signals came up for most everybody, so that was good to hear. I had and Robert, yeah, sounding great on the BC 610, and Steve, okay on the on maybe finding a home for a Model 28. Dave, I feel your pain. The lifting plywood, yeah, getting it anywhere above chest level anymore is like, it's pretty tough. Andy, I saw your YouTube video on the 669 and now run with it running off the P108, so that was kind of cool. And good hearing it on the other end. Rich, yeah, well, that's great on you and the XYL sharing the virus. Yeah, knock on wood. I'm hoping not to experience anything health-wise with that. Vern, yeah, good deal. Hopefully that'll work out fine on the knee surgery. Like, it's been now 4 months, 5 months, 4 months. 4 months with the new left hip, so both hips worked just fine. And yeah, I don't know if the knee is like the hip. The first couple of weeks is not so great, but yeah, who knows? Maybe at the 1 month, it might be okay. Don't know if it's the right knee or the left knee. So left knee probably wouldn't do too much with the driving. Henry, good deal on going crazy with the insane 182s and 183s and finally documenting it and saying goodbye to that string of projects. So off to another. Project-wise, I've been working on the 100-watt amp that I use all the time in the Azores, the one that I use on my couple of QRP SDR rigs. And I had, ever since I finished that, I had just way too much loss in the low-pass filters on 20 meters and on 15 meters. And I always said, well, I'm going to get back to rewinding toroids, checking surface mount chip caps, and yeah, I finally did this last 2 weeks off and on. Mostly I've been wrenching on my brother Larry's Dodge M37, and well, we got the ignition just down pat on that. Finally was able to come up with a way to use most of the parts off the old waterproof ignition, and Andy's familiar with all those, so yeah, came up with a way to make really nice new plug wires that look original, but they don't cost $600. So and nice solid spark. Had the radio filter and the base of the distributor had conked out. Pulled the distributor and took that out. Also made a new fixture down there, and using original parts made a cable. So it looks good, and it's got phone connections everywhere. Idle sounds much better. And I think this week we're going to be ready to go ahead and terrorize this neighborhood with that thing. So, but lots of hours every day. And then on the back burner is the MAB number 2, which the RF section all done, works great. So I'm making up a new power supply that will fit in the original package with a 6-volt lithium-ion pack I'm going to use. So yeah, we'll see how that one works out. And the Plymouth Vehicle Show coming up, so that'll be the next thing. Larry and I are taking off down there, and we'll maybe find a couple of parts. That would be nice. So that's the deal for here. Let's see. I think I'll have enough time for another round, for the 73 round. If not, I may have to split early. But with that, let's see. Rich, if you're still there, I can't remember if you were going to pass up on the 73 round, but if not, here it is, over to KE6QK and U6F.
Yeah, Roger, I'm good to go. NU6F, KE6QK. Yeah, everything's, net sounds really fine, copying everybody. The rest of the signal reports, Andy, this is when I looked at it. I don't look at it all the time, but Andy was an S8, Q5, Dave, S9, Q5, Steve, S8 with some QSB, Q5, Bill, F6, Q5, Robert from Oregon there, you were, I wrote down 628 with Queen Sugar Baker from Oregon, but very Q5. Stories. This morning, the snow has been on and off, and from real hard to real light. It's real light now. But in the morning, they call me the Cat Man here on Magnolia Road. I have a Norwegian forest cat. He's a big boy. And I also have a small female feral kitten I rescued 2 years ago. She's tame now. They have their breakfast and go out in the morning. Well, this morning, I opened the door, and they looked at that snow. They went out and got wet, came in, and said, Dad, I'm not going out anymore. So through the whole net here, they've been climbing up my back and wanting to play, and they won't go out, and spoiled. But they stay in all night, plus the coyotes, and they go out during the day and have fun. And that's an interesting story from the Catman. Yeah, the snow is melting as it hits the deck here. As far as the bench goes, I felt so crappy this week. I got 2 D104s apart here with new elements. Couldn't muster myself to work on them. I got the globe transmitter. I got the rotary switch out of it. It looked like the previous ham had been in there. I'm trying to figure out what was going on there. The shaft was corroded, so I take them completely out, desolder them with the paste machine, clean up all the contacts, lubricate them, and then put them back in. But I have to check the schematic on that. Detecting some former ham fooling around in there. I have to see if the circuits are correct. On a good note, I failed to pass on the repeater project. Went well. I had the commercial guys up there put the transmit antenna back up. The Fallon, Silver Springs Fallon 9.7 repeater is up, working well between Lovelock and Garrington and Silver Springs and of course Fallon. I'm happy with that. That came out very good. We're not going to hold it too long. We'll pass it. Let's see who is next. Andy. Yeah, here it comes, Andy. KD6QKX. KD6QK.
Okay, Rich, thank you, KE6QK and the group. This is KE6QKX. First of all, welcome to Robert on the DC610. Not a super strong signal, so you may not be hearing me, but I wonder what the letter designation is on your 610 there. But sounding good here. Really cool. This is the KD70, 342, 614. And yeah, that's good stuff right there. Bob, we can use the company that Model 28 for free information was for me. It was a friend of mine who belongs to a club that has them available for free. You can either email me or I'll send you Vern, good to hear you this morning. Okay, and your squirrels. I got some squirrels here too, but I want to talk about those because, well, it's not good form for the CDL instead. So. Let's see, Mike, sounding great. Good deal on your right. Well, I don't know what copy or what type of transmitter it was, and it was an RCA, but that's not a real guy too. That's really cool. Ron, great to hear you. Sorry I missed the MAG deal last week. I'm a MAG fan, as you know, so and CDV RAL stuff really well done there as well. CDV sounds great. Good. And okay, on the M37 with those ignition systems. Anytime you have a vehicle that has instructions on the dash that says what to do when you drive it underwater, is it can be pretty well put together. Let's see, Rich, good signal here. Some QSD, but something to do with problem. Dave sounded good this morning. Good deal on the ClotterNet cross-country concept. That's really cool. And I don't know too much about that stuff, to be honest with you. Nothing really. So, we'll see what happens. But, might give it a look. That sounds good with your color. 32B, I think. Right? Really good. And Bill, good to hear you from Half-Moon Bay. And Henry, good to hear you as well. Always thank you for taking the message for me. Good deal on the MC-183 project and everything else. I go back to all the time. Yours and Tim's M6 Charlie are go-to reference areas. Really appreciate everyone's doing it by making sure that stuff is available for the future. Free internet stuff, kind of sketchy on how well that's going to make it, but once it's on the internet, hopefully that'll give it a good future. Lots of projects here as always, but the 669 is the most recent one since I'm talking on it. It's been out of action for a while. It was having trouble with the transmitter. I couldn't figure it out. It's a 3-tube transmitter, so even I should be able to fix that, but it took me a long time to figure it out. Increased value resistor was still in my file for a while. So we got it back going and have wheeled out the PE108. Working great. Model system good working really. I gotta say, a pitch for the BC669 is kind of a, it's not too glamorous World War II radio, that's for sure, but this one's the D model that has the CW capability. And I am blown away with the receiver especially. In CW mode it has a narrow bandwidth, tunable EFO, and it's just rock solid. Full break-in, and it's fantastic. I've always had in the past 669s that were nice or extremely low, and I kind of assumed that was kind of their operational, this one I replaced every single capacitor in it, and did a full alignment on it, and man, it's incredible. It's one of the nicest World War II CW stuff I've done. So this is an actual radio from that era, which, the 669 was primarily a phone, with adapted from the pre-war Marine, probably when we look at it. So adding CW to it was kind of a big deal, and only done with the D model for the others, so there you go. So, I think that's more than you maybe ever and up to you, Dave. W6MQI, KD6TKX.
All right, KD6TKX, W6MQI. All right, Andy. Yeah, good job getting that transmitter going. Sometimes the easiest things are so hard to find. But good job. And I had a momentary lapse of reasoning or whatever when you sent that email out with those Model 28 ASRs, and I slapped myself. No thanks. It would be cool, but those are big units, and I don't want to deal with sourcing paper and ribbons and tape. So when I was in Navy Mars, that stuff was readily available. I could get boxes of that stuff, but it's kind of hard to come by anymore. Especially with ribbons. But yeah, free. That's a great price. I assume they work. Let's see. I had a guy sent me an email. If anybody's interested, guy has a 32 V2, an RBL5, and an NC200. What looks, the picture's so small. It looks to be like the silver edition MC200, but I don't know for sure. I got an email back, but pretty reasonable prices. And I'm kind of still looking for some sort of a military either transmitter or transceiver, preferably a transceiver that will run SSB. Keep my eyes out for that. And let's see. And Mike, Spanish AM broadcast stations. Sounds like they got the, they had to use a pair of pliers jammed at the control board to get that place operating. And then what is with the Spanish AM stations? You can tune across the band and everybody's weak, but the only stations that are just booming in are the Spanish ones. I know they're doing something different. And Henry, good job on the NC183. Well, I'm going to show up at the N7 RCA Swift with a big box with an NC101XA in it. You're going to put back the eye for me because I can put your lost interest in it because it sounds like you need something to do. Wink, wink. Anyway, not a whole lot going on here. I did repair my cables on my TCS radios. Oh, that armored ceiling coax that the cables are in was unattached from the connectors, and the wire was hanging out by a foot. And I got to do something about this because it was actually not real safe. So one of them actually took it apart, and I tried to re-flare the armored coax. It's kind of looks like today's liquid type coax. So I tried re-flaring the end. Yeah, kind of sort of worked, but it just wouldn't hold up. It kept breaking off. So I had to come up with Plan B. I had to get rid of the armor conduit, and I used some really high quality copper braid, and over the top of the copper braid I have a kind of a plastic wire loom that's over the top of that to protect the copper braid. And this seems to work pretty good, and everything's really flexible, so I got those fixed. But boy, when I pulled that wire out the armored coax, boy, did it just reek of MFP. It was probably the worst smelling MFP I think I've ever smelled. It. I was out in the garage doing it in my left hand. I was like, oh my God, what's that smell? It was bad. I don't know what the deal was. It was almost making me a little bit sick to my stomach. I had to work with the garage door open. It was so strong. Very odd. That's it for the projects here. And good morning to Robert. I'm here in the UK down here in Livermore. And so anyway, over to Steve. W6SSP, W6MQI.
Okay, Dave, W6MQI, W6SSP. Yeah, I was hoping you'd pick up at least one of those Model 28s. Teletype is a heck of a lot more fun with, at least I think so anyway. But I haven't run teletype since the mid-70s in a serious way, so anyway, that's how it goes. Mike, I really enjoyed your description of the station where you ended up with your ETA 250M. You know, I've read several descriptions of stations and how people picked up broadcast transmitters in ER and other places over the years. The response was very similar. The Raytheon RE250, which is the same vintage as your RCA, and actually designed and built by RCA engineers that were hired on from them. And boy, I'll tell you, the building this thing was in was a shack. I can't think of another way to describe it. It was in the middle of a floodplain next to the antenna. The building was about 3 feet off the ground with a bunch of 2x4s, or 4x4s. And no cement anywhere in sight, and the building itself was plywood. Full plywood. Sidings, the floors, and the floors were beefed up a little bit. And boy, luckily they didn't push out the transmitter into the weeds like yours was. But I'll tell you, when we got it out of the building, I swear the building shifted a few inches. It was just, as you say, wires all over the place, and don't touch this and don't touch that, and be careful and don't trip over these things. And it was a Hindi station, by the way, not a Spanish station. Originally the transmitter was in KVML in Sonora. That was the first transmitter in 1947. Anyway, good stories. I enjoy hearing stories about things like this. I haven't started any new projects this week or lately. I have had the Federal R808 on the bench for the past 2 or 3 weeks, and using it occasionally. And it's an interesting receiver. Not a very good competitor for the R392, which was built about the same time. But it's very sensitive. Once it warms up, it's fairly stable. Not as nearly as good as any of the 390s or the 392, but it's usable. Very good for AM and CW. For some reason, sideband is very distorted on it. I think that has to do with the audio bandwidth. I'm not really sure about that in that mode. But it's an interesting receiver. I'm glad I've got a couple of them. I don't think I would buy another one, though. Anyway, good stuff. This morning I was researching some newer radios, the PRC 320 and PRC 515. Not that I'm real interested in getting one, but just, in case one comes across my path for a reasonable price, it might be kind of neat to pick up. QRP modern radios. Anyway, I think that's about it for me. Propagation is failing a little bit. Noise floor remains high, so I'm not hearing people all that well. So I'll say 73 until next week. So, relative blur. N6BCT, W6SSP, 73 all. Robert, W7MKA. Bill turned it over to you. Go ahead there, Robert. Sounds like we might need a relay there. Mike, can you relay up to Robert?
Okay, more than happy to, and you're the boss. You're NCS, so I will follow orders. N7MKA, W7MS. You still out there, Robert? Go ahead. Well, nothing heard, Henry. I think he bagged it. W7MS.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Yeah, the conditions, I'm sure, aren't, they're not getting better. So there you go. Okay, well, 73 is Steve. And let's see, I have a couple of notes there to Dave. NC200, those silver anniversaries, at least from what I can tell from serial numbers and what's been reported to me by other collectors, is every NC200 that was made in most of 1941 are silver anniversaries. But the trouble is they started out really kind of cool. You know, they had gold tone where on the nomenclature plates, and the skirt on the tuning knob was gold toned, and of course the knobs were brown Bakelite. The meter housing was brown Bakelite, and so they were really cool receivers. But as they were building them, well, pretty soon they started putting the black knobs on them. They started really going thin on the gold tone, and so you could hardly tell they were gold. And so anyway, it depends on when it was made. If it was made in early 41, like January or February of 41, it'll have all the cool stuff on it that the silver anniversaries are known for. And then if they're much later, then then they're kind of skimpy on that. NC101X, I know what you're saying. Man, when they get lots of holes in them and hamstered, you just groan at having to fix that stuff. And a lot of times it's like we practically got to rewire the things, strip them out, start over. Model 28s. I have an unusual Model 28. I have a Model 28 compact. It's about the size of a IBM Selectric typewriter, but it's a Model 28. It's got everything in there, and it is just jam-packed. It's just really tight in there. And I use it for listening. I tried it with the KWS-1, and I just can't use the KWS-1 anymore for teletype. It's just, it drifts too much, and everybody now is like, you can't have any drift at all. And so last time I tried was about 2 years ago, using the 28 compact and a ST6000 TU HAL. Those are the cream of the crop of the HAL teletype demodulators. Let's go ahead and do the 73 round. We have Steve signed. Everybody else is still here. So 73 round up to Bob, W6AQU. Go ahead.
Very good, Henry. Yes, conditions are deteriorating. WA7YBS, W6AQU. Well, good morning to Steve there, the bailed out. Interesting comments there, but conditions are really going away. So we're helping around also. Robert did come back, and but he didn't stay very long, and he just went away. So maybe he's commenting on the path also. So 7-3 to all. Look for everybody next week. K6VXY, W68. Okay, that's K6VXY. 35 watts. Pull out with IC3200 is given the SB200 arrest. Hope you can hear me. Conditions are fading. I did hear you, Bob. And 73 to everyone. 73 to the front. And the filling in there for Chuck. I guess we'll see him next week. And good morning. 32% signal maintaining. And 73 to listening, but I'm not going to call for him. I got up too early. I'm not a morning person. I'm not falling asleep, but I mean, I'm yawning a lot. 73s to Rich over there in Fallon, and to Andy in Fresno. He's over there pretty good. He's got stations on there. I guess the Salinas was on, and then on that Saturday thing, we had a guy from San Luis Obispo was on quite a bit. And they come in good up here. I think I was in Paradise at the time. And thanks for the tip there, Ron, on knee surgery. I hope it does recover. It is the right name. 73 to Richard, like I said, and Andy. And to David Livermore, Superstar Signals work over there nearby Livermore. And Steve, 73s. Boy, you're really into the electronic stuff. Exact thing, because mine, the wire I got curlicues. In other words, if I got it in a roll like I do now, it wants to loop very much like the stranded copper does. So I'm not sure what it is. Maybe it isn't exactly what I thought, but you can solder to it. I tested that because I was thinking of using that for one of the legs. So back to that. WA7 YBS Rumble on Nevada. K6 and the group, K6, the X-Line.
Go ahead, Mike, W7MS.
Okay, well, thanks, Henry. K6VXY with WA7YBS for an assist. Yeah, conditions are abating. I have to comment on Steve's comments on Hindu radio. That's a first. Spanish language is relatively common these days, but I guess you've got to be in the Golden State for Hindu radio broadcasting. But we'll say 7-3s. Also, we'll be checking Ron out. He had to head out. I think it's that day. And of course, I guess one final comment: everybody, good luck in their Easter egg hunt today. Collect all those multi-colored eggs. And with that, we'll turn it over to Rich and Fallon. And great to have Rich back, and congratulations on getting 9-7 back on the air. KE6 QK W7MS, and of course, thanks, Henry.
Yeah, okay, things are starting to fade. W7MS in the group, KE6QK. Yeah, Mike, I'm going to start calling you W7MS portable K7KKOH. You sound better than the Reno AM station down here on this transmitter. Ever since they changed the antenna configuration in Reno, I don't know when it was, 2004 or 5, I don't know, something, the actual signal in Fallon got worse on their commercial station down here. I don't know what that was all about. But you sound better on 3974 than they do on 780 kilohertz. And that's a compliment. Those AM transmitters, those old ones, are very nostalgic for me. In 1972, I had my first-class commercial license while I was in the Navy. And there was two of us hams down there in the group that had our commercial licenses. When WKIK in Leonardtown, Maryland was putting up a phaser system and an FM transmitter, they hired us as part-time for a month to work on that system. It was so much fun calculating the actual impedance of an AM antenna against the ground to figure the actual power before the spacer and coupler system was in. I calculated the vertical at 32 ohms. And on that transmitter was a big old black Collins. I don't remember the nomenclature. I've seen them, different hams have them. W7PP had one on the internet. I think you have one. Big old winged Collins transmitter with two big old beam power pentos. Operating for one ham at the time. Very interesting. And typical Collins quality. Anyway, it stopped raining up here. Signals are dropping. Let me look at my notes. I'm going to go in and take a very, very hot shower and start a decoy, and I should be over this by next week, guys. Thank you for letting me in here. On the last go-around, Bill dropped out. Robert dropped out, so the band's going away. This will be my 73 to all. Enjoyed it very much. We'll see if we can hear Andy. It might be tough, Andy. The band's dropping. KD6TKX and the group. KD6QK 73.
Okay, Rich, thanks very much. KD6QK, this is KD6TKX. All right, well, 73 to all. Thanks for letting me get in here this morning. Always a pleasure to hear my friends out there. And really sorry for so with that, yeah, the band's definitely changing. So I imagine my little 40 watt is not as easy a copy as this. So thanks for being in here this morning. 73 is all. After 2 days, 76MQI, KD6TKX.
KD6TKX, W6MQI. Alrighty, yep. You're still making it here just fine, Andy, but yeah, like Bob, he's fading off, didn't hear. Well, I didn't hear him at all, but yeah, Henry, yeah, that C200 must be a later one because I don't see any gold tinge to anything. It looks to be in pretty good shape from what I can see, but yeah, I think it's a later one. But with that, I'll say 73 to everybody, and go inside here, and wife and I probably go out to breakfast. Try to get to the breakfast place before all the churchgoers, so we can get a place to sit down, being it's Easter Sunday. So 73, everybody, and I'll hand it over to I can't remember if Steve signed or not, but anyway, over to Steve, W6SSP, W6MQI.
Yeah, Steve signed there, Dave, and so let's see if Bill is copyable. N6BCT. Go ahead and make a transmission, Bill. Turn it back to be WA7YBS. Go ahead.
This afternoon on the telephone, and LOL WC gave it some people on
Okay, Bill, it's BCT WA7YBS. Okay. Well, 73 to everybody. Thanks for your participation in the Vintage Military Radio Net. Chuck will be net control next week, which is a little out of sync, but, you know, that's okay. You should have everything fixed by then, and so expect Chuck to be riding herd next week. With that, we'll close the Vintage Military Radio Net, and again, thank everybody, and hope to hear everybody back next weekend. So, have a good week. This is WA7YBS, closing the net and signing off.